Hello YouTube, this video is just to walk you through what I did to get my Ford 5600 running in the winter time. I knew it was giving me a little bit of trouble starting running when I was finishing up hay this year. For some reason, and I bought this used about 3 years ago, there's been a lot of crud in the tank. I clean it out because it's blocked up this petcock. Excuse me. A couple times where I've had to take it up, clean out the whole tank. When I say clean it out, just empty it out, and I thought all that crap would flush out of there, but apparently it hasn't. It's done that 2 or 3 times. Also with this double filter and Sims pump, this had rubber lines on it. Talked to a diesel mechanic. He said with the amount of whatever pressure and all of that a typical diesel puts out, he said he never recommends having rubber lines on there. So what I went and did is got compression fittings. And as you can see, I bent up my own 5/16 lines. This guy right here, I put him in brand new with that compression fitting. And the one in the back, you can see that nice shiny brass. That was rubber back there. The only thing I've got left to do is there was a pinhole right here, and somebody had put a rubber line over it to stop it up. I think I'm getting some air going through there. Oh, and you can see in the background there, another project I did this winter was put in a block heater. And in case you've never done that, here's what they call a freeze plug or a soft plug. And that was in there, and I drained all the coolant out the best I could, and then I just started in with a chisel and a screwdriver. And as you can see, I had to do a lot of banging on that thing. You gotta be careful not to go too far because that's not real deep in there until you get to those cylinder walls. But you can see it only, maybe you can't see. Yeah, puckered out, I don't know, a ½ inch, maybe 5/8. That was no issue. So anyway, took that out, put a new one in. That was real easy. Still wouldn't start for me, even though it was nice and warm. I was not getting good fuel, even though I replaced fuel filters with new Napa filters. I totally cleaned out the tank this winter, put in new lines, and I was not getting diesel out to these ports. So the next thing I did, my old pump on here, this little primer, I could lift this up halfway without even having any resistance there. And I read a little bit on them. It said that, over time, that's your fuel pump right there. I didn't know much about these Sims pumps. I do a lot of reading, a lot of videos, a lot of things like that. They're really a pretty stout little pump. So this is actually your pump, which blew my mind. Your crankshaft inside the motor, one of the cams turns over, and behind this it has a little lever. Actually, let me show you. I've got the old one right over here. So here's a lever in the back side, and that pushes down on that every time that cam comes around. And when it pushes down on it, it pumps it sucks from the bottom, pushes it out the top. But I figured over many years, this little thing was probably getting pretty worn. And that was only a $40 part. They have them cheap. Sorry about that. Just be careful buying them off of where you buy them, because there's some Chinese knockoffs. You got to read the reviews, etc., etc. Oh, but anyway, so that's your pump, and the rest of this is just your timing. The rest of this whole pump is pretty much just timing. Now, I did learn a few things as I'm trying to prime this whole system, and I'm cracking lines here, I'm cracking lines here, I'm cracking lines here, and then I found, well, in my book, which, all else fails, read the instructions, right on top of my double filter, that's a bleeder right there. You unscrew that. You can do it with this little primer. You can get fuel in there depending on how starved your system is. I had it completely empty, so I just cranked the motor over until you get fuel with almost no air coming out of that. But then, lo and behold, there is another primer. Right, or not primer. Yeah, crap. Anyway, right here. So you loosen this nut right up on top. And that's an air purge, just like up here. Probably using the wrong words, but I've got a dozen other projects on my mind. So when I bleeder, duh. Anyway, so when I loosen this bleeder, then it purged out all the air in this line that I just put in, right to that point. And in case you don't know, this is your fuel cutoff. When you shut the tractor off, it pulls it all the way back. And that sets the timing to totally shut off any fuel that can go up into these ports. But what this little button does, you push that in, your throttle has to be about halfway up from what I read. But you push that in and it locks in, and that opens these wide open. And between replacing this pump, finding the bleeders that I didn't realize were there, and then replacing the rubber lines with these 5/16, and they're brake lines, but they're as good as anything with compression fittings. I went out and started this up the other day, and she took off like you couldn't believe. So anyway, I hope that helps some people with these Sims pumps for certain models of, Ford diesel tractors. They're not as mystifying as I thought they were. So here's one other thing for you. This does have oil in it. Do not let it run dry. Here's your filler for that oil. Use the same diesel oil that you use in your tractor. Here's the level plug. You just take that out when you fill your oil in there. You just leave this out. When it starts to run out, that's at the level you should be at. And your drain is right here in bottom when you want to change it. You'll have to excuse all the crud all over the tractor, but I've been doing a lot of work on it and haven't had to clean it up. Anyway, hope that helps a lot of people out. Have a great day.